Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you about something very dear to my heart, which is innovation in financial services. Before my current role managing a law firm that focuses on fintech called Fusion Law, I ran the Office of Innovation at the CFPB. And this was a position created by the acting director, Mick Mulvaney. And it was really the first time the CFPB had made a real significant personnel investment in innovation, bringing on attorneys and significant staff and creating a separate office in the director's office. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me to continue some of the prior work that had been done on innovation and also be able to expand that work. And I was bringing into that role both, of course, an interest in innovation and then a background from my role in a state attorney general's office where I'd been in charge of enforcement. And so looking at these issues both from facilitating innovation and also preventing consumer harm. I think it really comes down to meeting a consumer need. It needs to be an actual need, something that people, something that improves their lives, generally something that people are willing to pay for. There are other types of innovation that I've seen in the market, like branding around bright colors or cards with bright colors and things like that. And people will try to tell me that was innovation. That was never persuasive to me as a regulator. I always wanted to see that concrete need being met. And sometimes it's front facing, sometimes it's through the user interface. It can also be on the back end in a competitive market, and a lot of financial services markets are competitive in this country, fortunately. Back end improvements that lower costs or improve efficiency are often passed on to the consumer in some way. And so I think that also qualifies as an innovation. So I think this meets a real need, which is something that we talked about in our definition of innovation. It allows consumers to smooth out their cash flows in a way that's typical for a business, but is now accessible to an ordinary person. It's easy to understand for payments. Often the pricing is very often extremely competitive, better than a short-term loan, often better than a credit card. And it's also, the product came out in an environment where we saw rapidly increasing prices. So where a consumer may have thought, I'm going to save 12 months so that I can get a couch. Well, that couch might be $2,000 more expensive in 12 months, or they might not be able to get the color they want, or they might not be able to get the couch at all for 18 months. So it was a different consumer environment as well that I think coincided with the growth of this product. But I think we'll continue to see demand for it, again, because it's meeting a very real need that will continue, which is the ability to smooth cash flow and match expenditures with income. Financial institutions, I think, have an especially high barrier. They have to meet, again, these three things. They've got to be efficient. They've got to be accessible. They've got to be trusted. And most of them have some regulator looking over their shoulder whose job it is to find mistakes. And that's unusual in any business. So there are all sorts of vendors who promise something that they don't deliver. Probably every institution, every financial institution has experienced that phenomena. And so they're understandably skeptical. Now, why is it important to move forward? Because this is an incredibly competitive marketplace. And clearly there are larger participants that are making very, very large investments in technology. And so it's necessary from a competitive standpoint for the institution, but I think stepping back also societally, one of the big benefits of this country is that we have a large number of financial institutions with different areas of expertise, different niches. And that allows access to financial services in a way that just isn't possible in markets where you only have a few banks. And it's very important to preserve that, but preserving that requires moving forward and showing consumers that they can have this superior experience, that they can have access to the same products, the same user interfaces throughout the different institutions that are best positioned to serve their needs. So I think financial institution has to combine at least three attributes that are a real challenge. They have to be trusted, they have to be accessible, and they have to be efficient. On the first one, on trust, I think security and resilient infrastructure, resilient technology has never been more important. That's essential for any financial institution, for any vendor. Accessibility is one of my favorites. I love the example of remote deposit, remote check capture. The CFPB and a lot of other institutions for a long time had worried about zones where banks were not accessible. And technology didn't completely solve this problem, but it made it a lot less important to have an actual bank branch located right next to the consumer. So I think that technology often improves accessibility in a very concrete and meaningful way. And then, of course, one of the best aspects of technology is the ability to provide something better or more cheaply and more efficiently. And I think we see examples of this all over the place. We see it on back-end examples in underwriting, and then, of course, a lot of front-facing examples as well. I think fintechs play an absolutely essential role because it's just not cost effective for each financial institution, and some of them have a fairly small footprint, to hire engineers to try to design technology that is being deployed throughout the market. It makes a lot more sense to come in and partner with somebody who has that expertise, who can do that one thing well, and then the financial institution can focus on what they do well. So I think that's probably very efficient from a balance sheet perspective and also a time to market perspective. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of these partnerships. Of course, the financial institution needs to be very careful about who they're partnering with and look at track record and all sorts of other things. But I think this combination will continue because there are just so many efficiencies there. Consumers are real people, they're holistic, and you have to think about their entire situation if you really want to drive innovation in a way that meaningfully improves their lives. The market moves really rapidly. Consumers, once they're gone, they're gone. I think this is something that anyone running a business, running a financial institution knows very well. Consumers are hard to acquire, they're really easy to lose. Now, financial institutions, financial services are a little bit sticky, but we've seen deposits move from different institutions pretty quickly. So consumers are in this mode of looking around for the products that best serve their needs. And if they're not going to close an account, they'll at least be moving money away into a spot where they feel like their needs are being met. So I think the time is very important. Time is of the essence for institutions to have a strategy to keep pace, to be able to provide the sort of technological experience that consumers are expecting from their financial institution, that they're seeing from some financial institutions, and that they see certainly in a lot of other products throughout the economy.